Hello, leader. One thing is for sure. My clients hail the 5R work plan as their favorite tool that I've introduced them to. The tool is the most talked about one during our calls and inside our private community of the Leadership Lab programs. It's been around in corporate for decades, but likely called something different in your world. And all I did was refine it and repurpose it into something that works really well for small businesses. So today, I thought I'd bring back an episode where you can meet a client and hear in her own words how much this one tool has changed everything she does in her business. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast. I'm your host, Shelley Warren. I've worked with so many business owners over the years, and they all have the same secret to spill when we first meet. They have team troubles. Yes, it's a secret they've been keeping for a long while because most of their peers and family don't believe them. You see, from the outside, everything looks fabulous. They've built a wonderful reputation, a strong following of delighted clients and customers. They've created a brand that resonates with people, and the proof is in their revenues. But the truth is, they're struggling to lead people, and they've pretty much been around the block and back with team turnover. They admit that they're proud of the small business they've built, and yet at the same time, they're so tired of trying to grow without an agile team who are happy to work alongside them. They know that they need a team, but not just any team. And just like you, they're ready to learn how to lead in such a way that fits their perspective as a woman who owns a business, runs a second shift on the home front, and wants to create a legacy for their family and community for years to come. So let's hold hands and jump in together with today's episode. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Let's start our conversation today with a reminder that the team that got you here may not be the team that will get you there. Our guest today is Sabrina Davis. She's the president and owner of Port City Signs and Graphics in Wilmington, North Carolina. She has purchased a sign shop. She purchased it way back in 2008. That 2008. And turned it into an incredible wide format printing and commercial sign company that also provides vehicle fleet wrapping. A few years ago, to the delight of her team, she moved her entire operation into a new, larger location. When she's not at work or at home with her hubby and her 3 children, you're likely to find her on the tennis court. So before we start today, if you're new here to the podcast and you might not be familiar with the term 5R work plan, here's a quick roundup. The 5R work plan is not a job description. It's a living document that outlines the key deliverables for any role on your team with specifics. When used properly, it becomes a roadmap for success that each team member prides themselves on. Now, it's not meant to be stuck in a drawer or filed away in your Google Drive. No, it's meant to be a talk sheet for one-to-ones and data for you and your leadership team to make people decisions. So what are those 5 R's? Well, here they are. Role, responsibility, results, requirements, and renewal. I can't wait for you to meet Sabrina. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, Sabrina.
Thank you, Shelley. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited for you to be here because although I know a lot about you, my goal today is for our listeners to know way more about you. So I would love it if you could share with us, tell us a little bit more about where you're located, the business that you love, and the team that you're growing.
Well, again, I'm excited and honored to be here. So thank you so much. We are located in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I own a wide format printing and sign company called Port City Signs and Graphics. And I bought the company the very beginning of 2008. It's been around since 1948 as originally one of the oldest sign companies in the area. It was for painting and lots of handwork and vinyl signs when I bought the business and brought printing into it.
What a year to decide that you were going to buy an existing legacy business. Like, talk about pressure, Sabrina. That business had been up and running since 1948, impacting the many lives of clients and not to mention the livelihood of the people that work there. And then you come in 2008, people.
Yeah, we didn't really see that coming. And in retrospect, I mean, it was definitely challenging because everyone knows the economy took a dive at that time. And many of our clients were heavy into commercial construction and all of that, and some residential construction as well, as far as providing sign work. And all of that took a dive. And I had clients who went out of business, went bankrupt. And that was hard to watch as a new business owner. But in retrospect, I would say it was probably for our business the best thing that could happen because I brought in so much change. And I don't know that I could have efficiently implemented that change if the business had been, going gangbusters, so to speak.
That's so insightful for you to reflect on that and notice that at the time, because you're right. In hindsight, what was happening in the world actually gave you permission to disrupt this legacy business and take it into the next decade as to where it was going to be. And now you've just recently celebrated 13 years in leading this business.
Yes, hard to believe because it's been the fastest 13 years. I'm a mom too, and to think that my kids were so tiny when I bought this business. And even at the time, I kept thinking, I really want to have a brick and mortar business because I was a graphic designer at the time and working on my own and that sort of thing, and dealing a lot with print shops and recognizing that I really enjoyed the technology behind getting a good print. But I kept saying, we have 3 children. They are now 19, 16, and 14. And I remember at the time thinking my little 1-year-old, I was like, it's too early. I need to wait till she gets into kindergarten to do this. But my husband encouraged me and we just went for it. And I'm so glad I did now because I can't imagine being 5 years behind where we are now because, there's so many things that we learn along the way. So it was a tiny business when I bought it. There were 3 employees that were existing and, took them with me and then went through the iterations of they aren't with me now, but now I have a team of 13, I would say, roughly a couple of those are contractors, but they might as well be with us because I see and talk to them every day. So we really have grown over those 13 years.
Well, you're a true example of that leader that through the evolution of your journey, the team that got you here may not be the team that gets you there. So those 3 people that had been with you at the very beginning, very impactful, high-level contribution, absolutely were a part of the foundation of that business. And then you come in, you disrupt the business, you move more towards into being more progressive and really leaning into what was happening in your marketplace and within your local region. And then, wow, things really started to ramp up. So then you realize, oh my gosh, I need to grow my team. And so here you are now with a team of 13 of highly dedicated people. I watch you online. I see your team in action. They really do love what they get to do at Port City Signs. And it's fun for me to watch you lead your business because it truly is the factory floor, which is really where I grew up. So that's really it's just lovely to be able to watch you from a true shop, like a real shop atmosphere, what it takes to be a leader in that type of manufacturing environment that also has a complex offering of all the marketing materials that you make available to your clientele. And I also wanted to, let's not forget the fact that your 3 children had the advantage, Sabrina, of watching their mom be so fulfilled in what she gets to do. You may not have noticed at the time, but you were really showing them that moms can be leaders outside of the home. And that's how they grew up. They grew up watching their mom.
Well, I love when you say that. Like, so much of what I'm hearing you say now has been so inspiring because these themes come up over and over in the podcast that you host and that I listen to. And then, of course, the Leadership Lab. And it's really inspiring, I think, to people like me who lead businesses because there's a lot of guilt that we all know. And I'm able to talk with openly, certainly share this with people in the Leadership Lab, which has been so beneficial to me because it's really hard to find women leaders. But I do have a couple of friends, you know, here in our community. Wilmington is not a huge community, but pretty cosmopolitan, I would say at this point. And we share these stories, and you just have to kind of comfort and push one another through that because this guilt that plagues these moms, like we're not at all the PTA meetings and we're not like at home baking cookies. Not that many moms are. I'm not trying to create stereotypes at all. And I do have very, very close friends who are very well educated and have chosen to make their place in the home, and that works well for them. And we're close friends and they appreciate who I am and I appreciate who they are. But that just didn't appeal to me long term and work for me. I certainly appreciated my opportunity that my husband afforded me to be able to run my own small business out of our home initially when my kids were born, so that they were going to preschool part-time and then coming home with me in the afternoons and all that. And I really enjoyed that time with them. But I knew long term that I needed to be in a workplace with people and working with my clients, because that's really what drives me and makes me happy at the end of the day, to see my kids and, you know, inspire them and that sort of thing. But I love when you say that, though, about moms because who are leaders, because we need to hear that. And I do have two very strong-minded, independent daughters, and I don't know that they'll be business owners, but I know that they have gotten some inspiration from me over the years. They've at least been able to share that now that they're a little bit older. And then, of course, my son, too. He's got two parents. We each own businesses separate. And that's where that'll lead definitely an independent thinker.
All three of your children grew up with parents who are both entrepreneurs. Both you and your husband are entrepreneurs. Your husband runs his business out of the same space within where your shop is. And so your three kids have watched their mom and dad go off to work every day and do work that lights them up versus many kids who grew up watching their parents, you know, begrudgingly heading out the door because they had to go to work. It's, you know, children pick up on those vibes. They really do notice how their parents are feeling. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with your three kids as they get into their career years and see what they choose to decide to do. So through all this time, the last 13 years, the business has definitely shifted. You as a mom have definitely shifted because you've had to adapt to also being that mom that's got a business to run, but also has a very full life at home. So how has you and your leadership style changed? Have you noticed that you've grown? And are there other things that you still want to grow?
Well, I give a lot of credit to you, Shelley, because when I started listening initially, I really realized that I wanted to grow and change. I sort of had like itch for a long time and wrestled with how to work on my business more and not so much in it. But I couldn't solve the constant staffing issues that I would run into because I couldn't quite figure out why I was running into these problems, because I felt like I was hiring good people, but I was still having to work in it so much that I couldn't get over that hump. And when I started working with you and through the Leadership Lab, you've provided the tools and I've really tried to lean into those. It hasn't been easy, I'm going to be honest, in all cases. Some things are easier than others, but leaning into those procedures and processes have really helped me. And I gotten to the point where I was definitely hiring the right people who were ready to receive that guidance. So, and we have had to make at least one team member change that you know about during that process. And I think that some of the tools that you gave me helped me recognize that too.
Well, one of the things that you said early on when we started working together was that you wanted to step back so your team could step up. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, yeah, we're kindred spirits, because it takes an adult to realize that they are part of the problem and they are absolutely going to be part of the solution. So when you said, I want to step back so my team can step up, that said to me, okay, She is ready to go through the uncomfortability of letting go of some control, because I know that you're a high fact finder and your attention to detail is impeccable, Sabrina. You also are and were deeply the face of your brand. And for many, many years, you were the person. When a client came forward or when you were hosting a client meeting, it was you that was leading the meeting. You were the one that was pitching the design ideas. And for a long time there, you were the one actually doing the designing. So you had all of that as your background. And now you are coming and saying, I'm ready to step back so my team can step up. But that's all I need to hear. When I hear that, boom, we're off to the races. And you were there right alongside me. So every single tool that was introduced to you, you leaned into it. You leaned into it hard. And absolutely, there's some times where it's uncomfortable. There's some heavy lifting involved. We're re-educating our teams, but so worth it. So what has been the most favorite tool that is now just normal for you? It's just totally normal to have that tool as part of your daily operation.
Well, I think you know what I'm going to say. So it's definitely the 5R work plan. When you called me way back now, invited me to join the Leadership Lab, I remember saying to you on the phone, I was standing in my yard, like talking to you on the phone, and I was like, I want to know more about this 5R work plan thing. I want that. I didn't even know what I was talking about. I just heard you describe it on the podcast, and I was like, I got to have that thing. Well, of course, it ends up being, it's something different for every team member, but we really have leaned into it. And yes, there was that discomfort at the beginning, like we're introducing this new way of guiding our team. But now, like I had a 5R meeting yesterday with one of our estimators and her direct leader, who's our customer service director. And it just was a phenomenal meeting. Not because we went through the plan, we added a couple of things, we took off a couple of things, but the great part about that is now there's this comfort level that it used to be. So our business is set up. Yes, we have somewhat this, you call it the factory floor. So it's our main shop. There are printers in there. There are cutters in there. Our sales staff is in there. All our design team works in there. Then we have a back shop where we have, it's almost like a workshop with tools, big CNC router. And then we have an adjacent garage where we wrap vehicles. And then up above that shop where, all of our equipment is my office. So I have a desk downstairs where I still sit down and design and break things down for my team sometimes. And I love being in the middle of it. And then I can go up to, sometimes they call it my perch. And so I go up there and it's sort of a quiet place to reflect. Well, it used to be that whenever I took a team member up there, it was like, oh, shoot.
Dum, da-dum, dum.
Dum, dum, yeah.
Hear that, that dramatic music like in the background.
What's happening? It can't be good. They're going up the stairs, But now it's a regular thing and they kind of look forward to it because they know, just like you told me it would happen, it really has. They know that's their time with me and with their direct team leader, and we can sit down, and so many fruitful things come out of that we write down on our notebooks and know that we can work on, whether it's a marketing tool or it's something in the system. Then I'm saying, okay, put that down for the Monday meeting because you want to share that with the whole team. Yeah. Where before I would have taken that upon myself to be like, oh, this is one more thing I got to try to do and fix and whatever. But then I give them some guidance. Why don't you think about this? Come back to me with your ideas for a solution. And they do. And it's amazing. And they feel good about that. And so, yeah, I think I got off task or off track there.
That's the intended outcome of those 5R work plans, which, by the way, have been around in corporate for decades. That 5R work plan, literally, it's in every Fortune 50 company. It's called something different, but it essentially the bones is the same and the intention is the same. How do I create a tool that not only can I lead and guide my team with, but they really want to own and use as a roadmap for their success? That's really the 5R work plan in a nutshell. And so those stories, the shift of your culture from being the doom and gloom, got to go up to Sabrina's office, wonder what's going down over there, to shift from that to be, oh, wow, she gets to go and have some quality time with our CEO, who, by the way, feels like it's an honor to set this side of time to serve her. And then you get to see all the action planning and the outcomes that happen every time you have one of those meetings. And you really start to see those team members step up and own their role, own the items that are on that work plan. It's not just a piece of paper that they're going to go home and stick on their fridge. It's not a piece of paper that's going to be filed in a drawer or on some sort of drive file. It's a living, breathing document that is their daily roadmap to help them really achieve what it is that they want to achieve and get paid for what they're doing, right? We all come to work to be able to get to do something that's adding value to the business, and everyone in your team, now that they have those 5-hour work plans, understand what it is. What is it that they particularly are bringing to the business every day? And that's why they're feeling so great about it.
Yeah, the thing that I did not expect to come out of this was that it would really help people who didn't expect to be leaders, or who had always told me, I don't want to be a manager, or I'm not going to be able to be a leader. And now they are. They've grown into that. And also, we always say that our culture is a non-drama workplace, but everyone knows it's hard to manage drama in the workplace, and it creeps itself in. And the work plans have really eliminated the drama. Not that we had much, but, you know, people would get irritated, like he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, but nobody's going to talk about it. And then everybody gets, you know, even more separated and cold shouldered toward one another. And this eliminates that, because everyone knows what's expected. And I knew that I had highly skilled people, and even some of my newer team members, or younger, whatever you want to say, you know, there's generational issues that happen, like communication between generations. We all communicate a little bit differently. And so we were definitely having some struggles with that in our production department. And that's gone, because I would say those newer team members really know these are all the things that are expected. They are leaning into the work plans. They're able to say, hey, I don't think I'm doing this as well as maybe I should be. Can you give me some guidance? And there's room for that. They know that it's cool to ask and say, like, I think I'm missing on this, and how can I do it better? And then the other people who are the leaders are able to just spell it out. It gives them permission, you know, to say, this is how I want it done. And, you know, you don't have to feel off-put by me giving you some direction, because you know that we already talked about we're going to do this.
It's a clearing of the air, and it's setting the new normal button. It's normal at Port City Signs to talk about everyone's individual work plans, and there's no secrets. Literally no secrets. Everyone knows what each other's doing. And so what that does is now it builds this up-leveled sense of respectability. Everyone respects everyone's roles and the particular expertise that they brought to the role, or that they're developing within the role. And so now you have this team of professionals to work with every day.
Yes. And it gives them permission also, because this is in their work plans, to introduce new ideas or solve things that are, like, we call them office irritations, and come up with procedures. And so, you know, that we've leaned into procedures as well.
Yes.
And we're documenting all of our procedures and processes. And they are introducing their own new processes. It's amazing. So I went on a ski trip with my family not too long ago, because my son goes to college out in Colorado. And when I came back, we were super busy. We were sort of a person down that week. So I sat down in the design seat, which is, of course, my favorite seat, and everybody knows that. And I was, you know, working through some things, and we needed to have some things cut. And we used to call them cut orders. And so I put the cut order on the thing and put it in the right place. And my production manager came to me and said, so Sabrina, we have a new procedure for this. And I think you missed it because we went over it in the staff meeting that you weren't here for. And I was like, this is just the most special moment. You know,
you're like, where am I?
All this happened. There was a staff meeting that went down. There was a new procedure added. All these things that happened that I didn't know about, and it was just perfect. And the new procedure is so much better than the last procedure.
So what do you think was the tipping point? Like, what happened from, you know, a year ago where you were uncomfortable to take time away because you were worried about what's going to happen if I'm not there, and am I going to what kind of disaster am I going to walk into when I do come back, to this particular incident where you can go away, you can take your son to college, you know, be that mom and focus on him like you want to, and you know he wants you to, and then know that the business is running like a well-oiled machine. Oh, and by the way, while you were gone, they're hosting meetings, they're making continual improvement decisions, and just moving the business forward without you being there being the one that's pushing them forward. They have their own sense of desire and drive to keep working at that high level without you there up in the perch, or even without you there at the design desk.
Well, I don't know that there's one tipping point. I think, and that's what I would really warn people about, is if you feel like you need to change your style as a leader, it is very overwhelming to think about the end goal while you're looking at taking your first step. And so it's a process, it's a journey. And I would say these 5-hour work plans were part of it, and really just developing more deliberate, better communication with team members, giving them permission to be leaders and coaching them to be leaders. Coaching, not criticizing. Thank you, Shelley, because that is such a big one. So there's not, I would say, a tipping point, but there's a progression. And people who are like me, who love the business that they do and the craft that they do, will find there'll be those days like where I'm driving to work and I'm going, today I've got to tighten up a 5-hour work plan. I've got to make sure that, and I see on my schedule, we're meeting, and I don't get excited about it. It's almost like exercising, like, you need to do it, but going to the gym, like getting from the comfort place to where the gym is. And then once you get there, it's not that bad. And then when you get home, you're like, yes, I did it. Yeah. And so I feel like this is similar, because I don't love writing them. I don't love, getting them honed in. But then after we have those meetings, I'm always like, yes, because they're happier, I'm happier. But it's a journey, because, we keep them on the schedule, and that in 2 weeks or whatever, there's another one that's going to pop up, and you just got to stay at it, just like the exercise in the gym, similar thing for me. Just keep pushing through it. But it's been over the last, I would say, 6 months or so, it's gotten to be enough of a habit that I feel better. I mean, it's hard to step away, but it feels really good to be able to. So.
And you stepped away during Christmas and New Year's this year, which was a game changer for you and your family.
Oh, huge. I've never been able to do that ever. I don't think I've ever, because before I started my own business, well, for a while I was in graphic design, but before that I was in radio and television news, and you got like Christmas or Thanksgiving, but you never got both. So I've always worked through the holidays, and in our business, we've always looked at that week between Christmas and New Year's as a catch-up time and a time to like do inventory and straighten up, and you end up working harder. And so then you don't look forward to it. Meanwhile, if you're doing Christmas for your family, we know it falls much more on Mrs. Claus than it does on Mr. Claus in our family, and probably in most families. So it ends up being like a stressful time. I really wish I was baking cookies with my kids, and all of that. And this year, I did. And I announced it to my team, and I said, you guys are welcome to work during, because a lot of people enjoy stepping away from their family and having sort of a routine. So we were closed officially, but people were able to come in and do business if they wanted to work. But I stayed away. I really did it. And it was amazing. And my kids were like so excited to just have me there. And my son was home from college, and it was a really special time for us.
That's so nice. We loved hearing about it, and everyone in the Leadership Lab, when you told everyone about that, you literally had never had the opportunity to do this. And I think we all were misty-eyed over that. It's wonderful to watch another woman leader have the realization that she's become someone different. It happened and she didn't even know it was happening, but now she's arrived at this place where different things are more meaningful to her now than what they were. And she's empowered to make different decisions and take different action than what she used to be. And it's just a delight to watch.
Well, thank you. You get a lot of the credit, though.
Oh my gosh. So
I'm just glad I found you. Now we're getting ready to hire a new team member. So I've been leaning into your new tools as far as hiring and making sure my next best hire is really, a better process for them anyway than the last. So my whole team is involved in that. And so that's been really neat. I would say this is the first time we've really had everyone on the team part of this process. And so we've got it down to probably 3 key candidates now, and we're narrowing that process down. I think we're going to end up, it's going to be a win, whichever one we end up choosing. So that's exciting.
I just love that, because the people closest to the work know the most about the work. So let's get them involved in choosing who's going to be standing alongside them as they come to work every day. And I've known this for years, but I love having other business owners realize it too, is that when you can have a team member or a few team members be a part of the selection process, their level of ownership for the success for this person accelerates like you would not believe, because they're already committed to them. They're committed to them because they met them at the very beginning, that whatever interview it was in the process of your hiring, they feel they already know this individual, and they know that they're now, that new team member is under their care and guidance. And so they're going to step up and be that leader and really help them achieve. And it was wonderful that day that you told us in the Leadership Lab call about that story, because I could see the eyes light up on everyone else that's in the group thinking, wow, Sabrina's really doing it. She's really putting this stuff into place. She's really bringing things to life.
Well, it's really valuable, and it is exciting to see them. So we do a multi-tiered hiring process here, which I sort of started years ago and keep sort of honing. So last night or yesterday evening, one of these candidates was interviewed in a Zoom call by 2 of my team leaders. I wasn't here. I was on the tennis court, thank goodness. So I had already done my part. Yeah. But, that's something that I couldn't have done in the past. I was like, I'll see y'all. I've got a tennis date, so I'm off. And then this morning when I came in, they're like, when are we talking about this? Because we want to tell you about her and the things. And then, and so that was really cool, because they're excited to tell me the next step. And they said, so the next step is we're going to do a working interview with her. So these are the dates we're thinking of. What do you think? Instead of me telling them, here's the next step. They already know what the next step is, and they've presented that to her. So that's been really valuable. Yeah. So, but other things that I'm excited about is just the direction of our business. We do a lot of really cool things. And so we're always kind of pushing it and trying to reach out, meet more clients, people that we can do things for. So we're getting ready to do a huge project in a large company here in Wilmington, where we're redoing their whole showroom with the whole history of their 100-year-old company. And we've got all the 100 years documented on these huge acrylic panels. We're putting a gigantic map on their 2-story wall showing all their locations, because they're now a worldwide company, which is hard to believe. And so those are the things I get excited about. And typically on a project like that, I would want to sit down and design the whole thing myself. This one's been a year in the making, but I haven't. I've let them do it. I'm definitely taking a peek at the edits as we're getting to the close of the project, but it will be really neat to see that one finished. It's a cool project. So,
wow. It's definitely going to be one of those projects that goes into your own history books and talks about the capability that this particular team has, that was able to provide such a delightful output and outcome for that client. And knowing that they're within your own community, that's a really warm-hearted feeling, knowing that your company has left and your team has left their stamp on that particular local company.
Yeah, well, that's what we love about our business. We are all commercial, which over the years I've had to just go that direction. And that's always been. And so finally, I can truly say, like, we're an all commercial business, and we do a lot of big fleet wraps for companies that have many, many vehicles. But we also, it's become really a specialty for us to do these interior wall murals and document history and photos or artwork or whatever, throughout an interior space, whether it's showrooms for builders, or there's another large company here that is a big pharmaceutical firm, and we were able to sort of document all the work that they've done across the world over the past several years. And it's really neat to walk those halls and see that work in place. But it just drives me. I love it. I love seeing new faces come to our door or call in and say, hey, could you help us with this project? And we work with a lot of talented people in our community. But it's kind of the reason I got involved in journalism all those years ago was because I just loved a good story and helping people tell their story. And here it's very similar. Like, we meet people, they have a goal or a problem they need to solve, and we kind of help them get through that. And you end up with a relationship at the end that carries forward, like customers come back. We've been here 13 years. I've been here 13 years. The company's been around longer. But there are people that I have seen all across those 13 years and watched their kids grow up too and seen their businesses grow and that sort of thing. It's really rewarding.
I bet. Wow. I just love following you on Instagram and watching your team do these big installations. To me, it's fascinating to know that a business owner had an idea and they came to you with an idea with a backstory as to why their idea was meaningful. And then you and your team jump in and literally map it out, design it, and then bring it to life. And it must be so exciting for them the day that your team arrives to do the installation. That must be so much fun, not just for you and your team, but for that client to be able to say, wow, I had this dream one night and this is what I thought it was going to look like. And wow, this is way better and bigger than I ever thought I could dream up.
Yeah, that is the most exciting part for sure. We love it. A client of mine came in one day, not terribly long ago. I think it was a couple months ago now, and she was bringing another business owner with her from another business that was a friend of hers. And she said, she opened the door and she goes, "This is where the magic happens. I call this the magic place." Yes. And I was like, oh, I love that. Like, can I use that? Because we do sometimes feel like we're sort of creating a little bit of magic. People, like we did a project recently downtown in a brand new hotel, and they said, like, we want these historic photos because downtown Wilmington, we're right on the riverfront, lots of history of shipbuilding and merchant services and all that sort of thing. And so she said, we really want these historic photos, but there's so many that we can't choose, and we'd like to be able to change them out. And how could we do that like pretty efficiently? And so we had these frames built on the wall, and they literally look like these big pieces of canvas art, but you can just rip them off and replace them, no problem. And so our team put up these huge, they look like big canvases, but they'll get changed out, seasonally for them. And nobody knows that but us and them. And it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Wow, that is innovative. Absolutely delightful.
Just an example of some of the magic, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of the magic that you do. So tell our listeners, Sabrina, how can people stay connected to you and watch you and your team in action? And if they're intrigued about how a print shop could really up-level their marketing impact or their marketing strategies and how they can position their own selves and their own brands in the marketplace, how can people stay connected to you?
Well, I would say our photos get updated constantly. So if you really want to see our work on Instagram, so it's Port City Signs Graphics. There's no "and" in there on the Instagram thing, so it's just Port City Signs Graphics. And of course, we're on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, which is kind of similar stuff. And our website is portcitysigns.com, portcitysigns.com. So.
Well, I'll have all of those links in the show notes for sure. And I just want to say thank you for coming and sharing your story with us, Sabrina. More women need to know about more women who lead. And you are a shining example of a business owner that is not in it for anything other than to continue to delight the clientele that you serve and be that leader that your team was just craving, so thirsty for. You are that leader that your team really wanted. And that's why they continue to stay working alongside you and why they come to work every day. They just love what they get to do every day.
Well, thank you. Your words mean a lot. That is certainly what I strive to be. And it's an honor to work with you and to lead this team of people. We're just grateful to have the opportunity here in our community to do the work that we do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, take care, Sabrina. I'll see you on our next Leadership Lab call.
Sounds great. Thanks, Shelley.
You're welcome.
So here's the thing. Sabrina is one of those leaders who takes her own personal development seriously. She's not afraid to stretch herself, think big, and truly understand what drives her. Her kids have grown up watching her be that incredible leader, both at home and outside of the home. She joined the Leadership Lab because she was ready to step up to step back. And she knew it would take some work. She had to switch up some of her own habits, loosen more of control, and re-educate her team about success. You heard her say that it was a journey, not an overnight kind of thing, but leaning in on the tools really made the difference.
I get it. It can feel like a lot to transform your team. And we can all hear about tools and systems, even buy them, but it takes a whole other level of leader to actually apply those tools and systems into her business and with her team. Sabrina is doing that. Her leadership team is upholding the transformational goals, and the entire extended team are benefiting from it. Sabrina and her leadership team are using the 5-hour work plans for each person they lead to provide clarity, direction, and of course, it's used as a talk sheet during those one-to-one meetings. Leadership team members appreciate this tool because it helps them guide the conversation, the coaching, and of course, the celebrations. I just love that story about how it used to cause a bit of drama when a team member was headed into a meeting up in the perch with Sabrina. But now it causes a level of excitement across the team because everyone knows that those one-to-ones with Sabrina are high value and 100% focused on their team success. Be sure to follow Sabrina on Instagram at Port City Signs Graphics to see her team in action. I just love seeing those photos and those little videos of those art installations. I'm such a visual person. I love every minute of those posts. So get over there and watch what's happening with Sabrina and her team. And of course, you can find all of her links in the show notes.
Now, if you would like to learn more about the 5-hour work plan and some of my other favorite tools, you need to join my newsletter. That way, you'll be the first to hear about new upcoming live events that we'll be hosting, and you'll hear about the enrollments to get into any of our Leadership Lab programs. Once you're there, you can then leverage these incredible tools just like Sabrina has. Go ahead and click the links that you'll find included in the episode description. You know, leadership can be exciting, challenging, and lonely at times. So don't go it alone. Let me help you create the team and the leadership structure that you've been craving. So until next time, remember, if you have a dream, you need a team. So let's get stacking yours today.